G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Off Ukraine War Update for the 10th of October 2025. I'm your host, the author David Applegate, author of the books The Boyhood Arcade, Power Games, Into the Earthbound, and The Erotic Tales from the Empire. Part 1 is available now. I'd like to thank my sponsors, you the viewing audience, and if you'd like to sponsor the channel, buy my books, buy my merch, join my Patreons. All my links are in the link tree. You can scan the QR code, wait till after the show for more information. Alright, so as the headlines pronounce, Russia has unleashed a devastating attack on Ukraine. And, of course, a lot of the missiles and drones were subject to electronic warfare, so they did not strike intended targets. And the war of words continues. Vladimir Zelensky, yeah, they're attacking my railways, they're attacking my facilities. It's creating chaos. And then a few hours later he's saying, it's after a few hours saying, we destroyed your aircraft, we destroyed your tanks, we destroyed your oil, we killed millions of your men, give up now, go home. And Russia gives them the middle finger, and of course Zelensky boo-hoos, because the West is emotional, right? Immature people are weak, they thrive on emotions, not facts. They want their little fifis validated. They want their little pity parties. They want to have a reason to sob and complain. Now, you're going to hear a lot about Russian gas and oil. Well, you've already heard a lot, but you're going to hear more about it. Now, that's just Serbia, Hungary, and of course through various back doors, France and Germany, all by, probably England too, buy Russian gas and oil. The big question is, are Russia and Europe moving closer to a conflict? Well, the European leaders would like that, wouldn't they? But they're also in a panic right now because Russia just blew away a number of Ukrainian power plants, well, actually power distribution nodes, with impunity. They've sailed through unimpeded over 420 objects. Ukraine claims to have shut them down. Well, as you can see, the splatters across Ukraine, nah. Again, most of these are surveillance drones. See, 4 and 5. They're just surveillance. They're just decoys. But Ukraine, says, oh, you're hurting us. That's not fair. That's not nice. And it's like, yeah, but a few hours ago you were bragging how you were destroying the Russian economy. And that you'll only stop when you've destroyed the Russian economy. So, Zelensky, you're a hypocrite. But of course, he thinks he's special, so nothing I say will affect him. Though his supporters, though, they're fifis. They get little knickers in a knot when you call out Zelensky. But, don't go around hurling insults at people if you can't take them, right? Alright, so the buffer zone, maybe a little growth, nothing really significant. Certainly got power outed, so did most of Ukraine. We'll just look at the other buffer zone for a moment. Don't think it's changed much. Alright, so let's go. We know Kiev got hit. We know some place out here got hit. Some place out here got hit. when an industrial centre got hit. I believe it was a bridge, though I think the Russians missed and hit a building instead. They got the power plant here at power distribution. At Kermsky. They also got the power distribution downriver here, and yeah, so they got power distribution and the rail centre. Kursk, Russia's favourite target, Dnipro got lots of hits, mostly around the rail and river, downstream as well. Now, it's unusual that Dnipro and Krivichy gets hit in the same wave, but Kharkiv got a little light touch-up. Nothing really spectacular down there, but the real damage was done here in blowing up depots, the Ukrainian positions, and distribution here at Dnipro, meaning tons of ammunition destroyed, which will again hamper Ukraine's ability to launch any kind of counterattack, which we've only seen one of lately. All right, so the battle continues for Kupiansk. A lot of military bloggers suggest that Russia is actually further into Kupiansk than the maps indicate, and they believe that they're fighting actually in and around. Right, the Russians have almost surrounded the heart of Kupiansk, but I think as nighttime comes, we'll see a different picture and probably see tomorrow whether or not Russia's made any advancements or those were assault forces. Now here, there's this little less than 1% of that still remains, but fighting continues with no advance north of Lyman, though they are halfway through Novo. They're in Stavsky and Dobnivsky, but no indication. There is reports of a build-up for a ram, the Russian ram assault. This is basically a row of tanks who will just basically advance and fire, and they'll try to close the gap and push the Ukrainians and cut off this road to Lyman. While in the south, they cut off Silvesk. That's one of the scenarios that has been pushed by military bloggers. No verification provided. So we have artillery and glide bombs on the usual targets here on the second Zelensky line. We have fighting north of around Silvesk. A little bit of advance here in the south. We have no confirmation, but there's fighting continuing. The Russians are pushing the last of the Ukrainians out of the forest area, but Cheveshyar is not yet official, but may come soon. There's reports that Russia may advance on Konsk soon, but it's alleged that ammonia pipeline was blown up near Rusin Yar, causing widespread chemical alerts, halting the progress of the Russians here. it's not unusual for Ukraine to sabotage itself and blame the Russians. They've blown up dams and bridges before to allegedly halt the Russians, but then claim it was the Russians destroying the Ukrainian counterattack. They couldn't stand up to us, they blew up the bridges, all the usual Ukrainian propaganda, chest beating, whatever you want to call it. POSC alleged again that there'll be simultaneous assaults. I would believe they would go after Seversk or Kodsk first and eventually get round to... I think they need to stabilise the front. They need to pull resources off here. They need to take advantage of the next 24, 48 hours where the Ukrainians are going to be struggling to race in arms, men and material, mostly ammunition. The Russians have made some progress against the Ukrainian counterattack here. It's usually 24 to 48 hours. Actually, 24 hours have passed and the Russians still haven't fully pushed them back yet. So it was probably a sizable force, and they're dug in now, or occupying positions the Russians pushed them out of previously. So we'll go probably back to the grind there as well. Probably now, most of the grind, as you may have seen on previous videos, is actually just Russian drones dropping grenades on Ukrainian positions, as well as artillery exchanging fire. There's no actual Call of Duty style combat, folks. Most of the soldiers are tucked up in their little bunkers, usually coming out to reload the grads. Then they crawl back to their bunkers, the grads fire, and drive off. Because if they sit anywhere too long, they're targets for counterattack. Now, this is a risky move, which can often lead to fires, but they often drive up to bush, cut it all down, as you can see, cover themselves, wait for the command to fire, and then they unleash. But according to Russia's top brass, they've inflicted 1,450 casualties in one day, with the various breakdowns. But it ain't that big, except in Battle Group Center. These guys in here. Now, most of the casualties are along the front line. And of course, as you can see, 4 to 5 vehicles in each area. Overall, they've destroyed various launches, but Europe continues to defy expectations. They seemingly paralyzed. They don't know what to do. Every day they're trying to push Ukraine into the EU. Every day they're met with opposition. And the political stalemate then devolves into the typical immature war of words that the left is infamous for. Now, in other news, the US has said the quiet part out loud, though have I not said China and India are the real power behind the Ukraine war? Now, Russia is actually reporting this to Russians in Russian and English. Of course, it's going to be dismissed as Fox News talking points or Putin puppet, all the usual things. But read between the lines. Russia is a major supplier of oil to India since the Ukraine war escalated, and China is the world's largest importer of Russian crude. It's actually the largest importer of crude oil, period. The Trump administration has levied tariffs on India and a 25% penalty, and there is still, according to Russia, a demand and Bassett has agreed and said this, that the world is likely to see India buying more American oil to get rid of the punitive tariffs, but this will take time before those tariffs take effect, and India will probably go down to the wire. As I've often said, Modi is not your friend. He's not Putin's friend. Okay? Modi is trying to lever Russia and avoid war with India, of course. But I think both of these men agree that China is only, again, using Russia. But Russian equipment, while not exactly as good as American equipment, is still far superior than most Chinese. But what most people are not recognizing and what I'm not talking about is the fact that India is supplying ammunition to both sides, Ukraine and Russia. Now, a lot of this trade with India is, of course, componentry and chemical, which, of course, you look at a lot of it comes through Iran, from Pakistan as well. So India and China are not alone. There's Pakistan, who is right now engaged in a cold war with India, daring not to go hot because the US will spank them. But Russian forces have unleashed a huge strike, including Kinzhaus, on oil facilities or energy facilities that keep the Ukrainian military-industrial complex going. And then we get the weekly update, with the usual, usual file photos. We don't really have a confirmation of what's hit, but we do know it's bad. And why is it bad, and how do you know this? We know the Ukraine situation is bad because France, who's desperate for any news that will take Macron off the headlines, and 90% of French do not click the bar. In the US, it's much higher. Most CNN viewers don't click the bar, I should say. Fox are the most news literate, apparently, in the world right now. I'm not surprised, as Fox viewers tend to watch more and more they're watching Fox on YouTube, and thus they are watching other news channels as well, but not CNN or MSNBC. People hate watching Jimmy Kimmel for their clip him, but that, of course, is decreasing. But as you can see, if Ukraine had any massive win, including, there were hundreds of missiles, but we fended them off, it would be front page news. Because remember, they are in the business of selling arms. The rest of the country is just infrastructure to them. Remember, Macron is primarily a weapons dealer. So is Germany. So is England. And the US, there you go. That's it. Massive power. Yep, they are reporting. That's how you know it's bad. They're not reporting good news. They're reporting power cuts in Kiev. And they're showing. So this building, whatever was hit, is just a distraction. Okay, it's probably a missile that went astray due to jamming. You've got to remember, the arms industry is shrinking. More and more of it's been diverted to China and Brazil. Europe is pretty much its own customer now, trying to push out the US. So you can see the top news is Russian advance. This is confirmation, not propaganda. Same with the BBC. Anything. Ukraine is not major news. The paragliders, Myanmar is a whole complex issue which would take months just to explain the fact that there are no pro-democracy rebels in Myanmar. They're all degrees of socialists. They're all degrees of dictatorships. That every democracy has pretty much ended up in a coup because at one point or another they just loot the treasury. They get sick and tired of the deadlock in Parliament. They get nothing done. The public service ignores commands. The government withholds funds. Strikes cripple the country, and fighting breaks out every day. And of course, the military government in itself is bitterly divided on what to do. It doesn't want to crush the pro-democracy, but it doesn't want to completely capitulate to their demands either. They are looking for a way out and hoping that Trump, and of course this is where we're looking at in world conflicts, Trump's next achievement is either going to be Myanmar or Ukraine. There ain't that many conflicts left, folks, but there's still Palestinians are returning to Gaza. What genocide? There's more people returning to Gaza than were killed in the last 2 years. Of course, there are probably that many people in New York claiming to be refugees. Democracy is fragile. Almost every liberal democracy, I cannot guarantee that every liberal democracy, but up until 1939, every liberal democracy has ended in a fascist-style dictatorship. You may argue the difference between a democratic socialist or a Nazi or a fascist, but remember, folks, Mussolini, Hitler, Mao, they're all cut from the same autocratic cloth. They're all cult of personality types who ultimately tried to make their populations worship them, engage in endless warfare in their name, and they all pretty much ruined their nations. Germany almost ruined forever. China is not irredeemable yet. Myanmar still salvageable. There's still hope in Cambodia that the tragedy of Pol Pot won't be repeated, but they don't know what to do. How do you outlaw unions? How do you outlaw communism? That's the struggle that we have. How do we make sure that we don't get Mandamis elected who then abuse power because the people are naive, stupid, or greedy? If you want to talk about regret, don't look at New York or DC or Baltimore. Actually, there's outside of those cities, there's no Trump regret, and the people who are claiming regret, I bet you none of them really voted for Trump. You want regret? Go through Detroit. Obama regret everywhere you go. South side of Chicago. Obama regret everywhere you go. Biden administration officials pretty much spilling their guts on Ukraine, and so many people saying that Ukraine is an abject failure of foreign policy. That should have never happened. And I know a lot of people are angry that Russia seized Crimea, but that would be like the US protected. It's like the US occupying parts of Cuba. It's like US expeditionary forces going into Nicaragua or Panama or Iraq. This is no different than Clinton going into Serbia. Except the difference is, when Clinton went into Serbia, that was to, or Bosnia, that was to oppress the Serbs, whereas here the Russians have gone in to protect the ethnic Russians from the cruelty of the Ukrainians, which, whether or not you want to believe me or not, there are plenty of forbidden videos out there from people who covered the Donbass War, been to the Donbass War, showed atrocities by Ukraine, showed mass graves by Ukraine, and The Guardian and the Amnesty used to condemn Ukraine until they didn't. And that's where we're at. We're in a state of denial right now, but I think Trump is going to break through. I do think, however, from the point of path of least resistance, that yes, if you can get Russia to, I think it will show the world, if the US could get observers on the ground, get Russia to not launch a single missile, and film Ukraine and the Ukrainian side. Once that is exposed, and Europe has to face the reality that Ukraine doesn't want peace, that Zelensky, support for the Kiev government is gone, that will be when you have a freeze on the front. Step 1, freeze on the front. Step 2, a return to the eastern borders, right? So, and then a DMZ between the two, right? There's 3 steps. Freeze on the front, deciding the border, the new border based on military realities, but probably giving up the buffer zones. But Russia will have to probably give up Zaporozhye and everything. Probably these little spurs, whatever, probably have to go along this road at this point. Probably Chavez-Yar. But so Russia's in no hurry, but I think at the same time they know the clock is ticking. And eventually, I think once the news cycle has completely cycled out of Gaza and we see stability in Gaza, that's when the Russians will sit down with Trump. I think Trump has already indicated that he believes that there will be a conversation soon. We'll see who that conversation is with and what it's about soon. Oops. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and please support the channel. Every little bit helps, but I hope that you'll go the extra mile and join my Patreon. buy my books and buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, description below, or in my profile. Of course, you could scan the QR code on the screen right now, but it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, and it's really important right now that I reach 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Thank you for your time. Appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.